Well, I'm excited because you have some beautiful new music out, and I'm curious though to start with, how would you describe your sound?
Oh, it's such a big question.
I know.
Yeah. Uh, well, on this record, it's there's a lot of really um, big arrangements and pretty bombastic arrangements and productions going on, but it also strips right back in moments as well. There's a lot of space there too, which I guess is a movement in itself. Having that space there. Um, so I think it's a pretty big sound. There's a lot of instruments going on, and yeah, I think uh, I think it's beautiful personally. Yeah, I mean, if I had to,
Absolutely. That's a perfect genre for it. Beautiful.
yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, and it's a like I think a lot of artists will say. I mean, it's a hard one to answer, but it's a lot of things, and it's only one thing all at once. So yeah, it's beautiful.
Who were some of your musical influences when you were growing up?
I listen to a lot of soul music and blues and country music and rock and roll and jazz and a lot of older music when I was younger, like a little kid, like a lot of music from the 50s and 60s, and then as I got older, a lot more sort of contemporary stuff, um, punk music and punk rock and metal, and I mean I still listen to all of those things. Um, so yeah, again, just beautiful, beautiful music. But I really love. I think a good example of of that sort of range is I really love Willie Nelson and I really love Ray Charles, and I think they're a good example of how you know. And I think we like to put things in categories and talk about things in a stylistic sort of way, which I don't mind really at all. But I think they're a good example of how Ray Charles sings country music and Willie Nelson sings soul music, and they're the same thing. You know, you listen to it, they can sing the same song, and then each one is just as beautiful as the other. You know, yeah,
It's a different rendition, but it's still so beautifully played.
yeah, that's right. I mean, you were always on my mind, Willie Nelson. I mean, you can have Elvis obviously doing that with a huge orchestra. You
Johnny
know,
Cash, somebody like that.
Johnny. Yeah, yeah. I think a good song is a good song. And it's sort of I think that's what I've tried to do with my music, and particularly this current record is, yeah, not not. I don't think I ever worried about it too much, but it was never quite a worry. But it was, I just wanted to write songs that I thought were good and beautiful. And I think it can those when you do that, it transcends, um, yeah, genre and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, you do have this new album out now that's self-titled. What are some themes you explore on it?
Sure. So it's all very personal to me. I mean, I really enjoy songwriting, and there's a lot of different ways to write a song, and I've certainly written in a lot of different ways. But for this record, it's all very personal and mostly fiction, non-fiction. Sorry. Although I do like fiction, and I have written that, and I probably will again. But since my previous record and this record, I've started a family, which is, the greatest thing I'll ever do. So it sort of clears a lot of things up in someone's life, I think, doing that. And yeah, it's so writing with the kids in mind and my wife and our marriage and partnership in life. Um, there's a real liberation and a real freedom there, you know. Again, not really writing for any other reason, but just the work. And I wasn't really, for one reason or another, I hadn't really been able to do that, or I hadn't done that previously. Um, and it was a really nice, beautiful place to be. You know, just pardon me, just making sure the song, that each individual song is as good as it can be, and as true and authentic to myself, um, as it can be. Yeah. So, look, it's something I'm really proud of, and but any sort of expectations outside of my own efforts and my own authenticity, I just didn't go down that path at all with any of the writing process for this record, which was a bit of an arrival for me, you know, as a writer, to be able to do something like that. And yeah, I don't think I'll ever. I'm sort of here now, and so that's how I've approached everything. I mean, some songs are going to be better than others, but yeah, that's the kind of baseline, you know, bare minimum now to my work.
Well, it sounds like there's a different songwriting process for you now than previously you've had before. Is it something that's just evolved because, as you said, you've started this family and you have a different kind of life than you had before? Or is it just that you can sneak in little moments of epiphanies where you have this like beat or you have a lyric that comes to you and there's not as much free time as you had before since you have little ones?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think it's just because I have no time to do anything, you know. Although I'm away at the moment and they're back home, so I'm missing them a lot, of course. But I find myself, with almost too much time. I'm just like, you know, too much time. So I've been writing while I'm here. But yeah, that's a really good point. Look, I think it's probably both. I mean, I think it's about, you do a few more days work, you get a bit wiser, you know. Um, so that sort of thing, if you're lucky, sort of comes around naturally as well. Um, I'm taking a lot better care of myself now, uh, mentally and emotionally, and certainly physically. I mean, than I ever have before. You know, for instance, before the kids, I'd never gotten a blood test before. You know, and now it's just a part of my life. Now, once a year, you just do your physical, and all of that stuff. So I think um, being in that place again, I think it's just about growing up a little bit. You know what I mean, or a lot. You know, and my work's gotten better. You know, I've gotten better and healthier and more stable, and everything has kind of permeated from that. You know.
How much of a hand then do you have when it comes to the production side of the music you make? Are you very hands-on?
Oh, look, I am. I made my record, this current record, with a person named Joel Quartermain, who's an incredible producer. So, I mean, I would say that I wouldn't say I quite co-produced this record, but I've produced it with him, or he produced it with me, more to the point. And we also uh, co co-wrote on most of the record as well. He's a really good friend of mine and extremely talented. So as you asked me to pick a microphone and do a mic setup, and I don't really know what that is, and don't let me anywhere near a computer, you know. Um, but as far as like instincts are concerned, and the form of the song, whether we cut this verse to a half verse here and then bring the chorus straight in, and all those sort of particulars, yeah, that's something I really enjoy. So certainly aspects of the production side of things, I was very hands on, but I know my limitations. Again, I think that's about just uh, being a little older and a little wiser. You know, it's a powerful thing to know your limitations. you know, to an extent. I certainly jumped in, head first to all of it, but at the same time, um, happy to defer to someone like Joel Quartermain.
You have a beautiful song, Fortress, out now with Julia Stone. Talk about the message behind it.
Sure. So that's a song for my love song, obviously for my family and I and our family home, and what that pardon me, what that represents as a place of security and safety and uh, calm, you know, for us. But it's once you write it, it doesn't belong to you anymore. I mean, it can mean anything, um, to anyone that it might happen to resonate with. But for us personally, it was yeah, it was just about having our own space that was um, impenetrable to anyone else, you know, either good or bad, not necessarily in a defensive or dramatic kind of way. I mean, sometimes, sure, but just a nice, peaceful place that's only ours and private, you know. So I thought I'd write a song about it and talk to journalists around the world about it, about how private we are. Yeah. Um, so it's I really love that song. Joel and I had actually started writing that song. Julia's an old friend of mine. She's a really good, beautiful friend of mine, and obviously just a incredibly talented producer and writer and instrumentalist and artist. And I asked if she wanted to do some writing for the record and do a feature on the record, which thankfully she said yes. So we had a couple of days writing session, and Joel and I had started writing that song the day before Julia was coming in, and it was good. We felt pretty excited about it, and Julia came in. We wrote a couple of songs with Julia the next day, which are really beautiful songs that aren't on the record, but they'll be on something down the track at some point. And then Joel had actually brought up that he thought Fortress should be the feature with Julia, and it was such a personal song about my family and I. I didn't know whether it was how comfortable I was with that song being a duet or having someone else on that song. But I went away and thought about it. And anyway, the next day we all did a writing session together and again wrote beautiful stuff. But at the end of that day, we showed Julia Fortress and she was like, I want to be on that. And okay. Julia Stone, what she wants, she gets. Um, so I said, write a bridge for it. Wasn't finished. And Julia took it away and wrote an incredible bridge for it. And then we knew we had something pretty special. Yeah.
What kind of response have you been receiving from fans about the song?
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. No, the response has been incredible. And particularly as far as, I mean, speaking to you now, um, play other territories, other parts of the world, something that has sort of largely eluded me up until, for one reason or another, um, up until recently. So it's been going really well with the other singles as well. But Fortress coming out, I mean, Julia, being so um, well regarded and rightfully so, and acknowledged in a lot of different parts of the world, I think was a big help to that. And I think it's a really beautiful song. But I've seen it, you see it, you see yourself get tagged in things, people putting up their, someone put up their favorite songs of that week, and they were from Milan. You see playlists from other countries adding the song. Again, it's something that I haven't had the privilege of up until now. So it's really exciting. Yeah, it's being received really well. I think it's a beautiful song. I think it's yeah, it can be anything, but so can any song can be anything. It's just about what resonates, and we just don't know. So that's what I was talking about as far as expectations or no expectations in through the writing process. That's not to say I had low expectations, because I didn't at all. I was really proud of it, but I just didn't have any expectations. So, I was able to just go for it and do something that I thought was beautiful, and I was really proud of it, even if it, for whatever reason, it might have been, if it never came out, or if it didn't resonate, or if it, yeah, whatever reason, I knew that I was proud of it, and I felt really fulfilled, um, because of just the work, you know, and then you release it and you start seeing all this other stuff, and it's exciting. But I think if I ever get um, a bit high or a bit low, you know, uh, I just remember it's just all about the work. That's a really beautiful gift that I've been able to give myself throughout the writing process and making of this record, is just that fulfillment for the work or through the work. You know, um, it's yeah, it's something that I'm able to, bit of a home base for me. Emotionally,
Well, I think we
it's
know
good.
your wife's favorite track off this album, based on that beautiful love song that you wrote. Or do you have a favorite one?
Oh, which one?
Fortress.
What Fortress?
I assumed that
Yeah.
Fortress was her favorite.
Well, they're all love songs for her and our kids, so I think it's hard. Yeah. Yeah. Do I have a favorite? Uh, I think I do at the moment. Yeah. I, but not necessarily just this record. I think it's just what it represents. It's a song called "Wait in Love," which was sort of from the writing standpoint. It was everything I'd written up to "Wait in Love," and then there's everything I've written since "Wait in Love," um, and that's how I see my work. So I think it's a really beautiful song, and I love it, and I love singing it. You know, I think it's really, from a sort of technical standpoint, it's really, really strong melodies and beautiful production and great lyrics. But it's what it's, I mentioned sort of taking better care of myself. I mean, when you tell someone that you love them, I mean, that's a promise, and when you're in a place where you're not being as good to yourself, um, and you're not as healthy as you need to be able to be, available, basically. Um, so it's a question, and, well, it's a plea, really, to my wife. There's some things I got to do. We wait in love, and thankfully she has. So it's so far so good. Yeah, but it's yeah, when you're not making yourself as available as you could be, if you were, taking care of yourself a bit better, you're breaking a promise if you've told someone that you love them, you know, and that's not a nice thing to do. So, Wait in Love, I think that's my favorite. It's a very triumphant song. You know,
Is there a message then that you hope lingers with audiences that explore this new album? Is it open your heart? Is it love can change you to be a better person? Or is it even something else that you would hope lingers with audiences?
yeah, I don't really have that kind of hope. I mean, I hope it can resonate. I mean, I've got responsibilities. As a provider, and the more it resonates, the more I'm able to take care of um, things like that. So I certainly hope that it does well, of course. But I think it's such a personal thing what a song means to somebody. I mean, yourself or me, or anybody. I wouldn't want to have any hopes on anyone's feelings or opinions on anything, let alone my work. I mean, I hope that they enjoy it. You know, obviously, I think it's really beautiful, but I haven't necessarily written a message in there that I want people to take away from it. I've written a message in there of of my own circumstances and my own situation, which is a really beautiful one and a triumphant one. I've been through a lot in this big little life at times, you know, and I've also had a lot of really beautiful, incredible experiences that I'm extremely grateful for. You know, it's just we're not here for a long time, but if we're lucky, we'll go through all the we'll go through the gamut of possibilities, which you know sometimes I feel like I certainly have. So I just had hopes on myself and my own work, you know, for the for what I wanted to do. I think, um, I hope people enjoy it, but at the same time, uh, I'm not putting that kind of pressure on myself or the work or certainly anyone else. You know, it's a beautiful record, and
Sure.
I think it's. I'm really proud of it. Yeah.
What would you like to say then to everyone who are fans and supporters of the beautiful music that you make?
Well, just thank you so much. I, I have a gift of creativity, and it's something that I've always been an artist, and I've always been a creative person, and I'm honing my craft every day and trying to get better. And I think that the best thing about a gift is that you get to give it away, you know.
Sure.
So it's if there are people there that are happy to receive it, then that's a really beautiful thing. So yeah, thanks.